Welcome to Courageous Conversation with Therese W Gamble, a cultural storytelling, gracious space to bridge generational gaps through active listening and action-oriented changes.
Educate people that we're no longer there, that we have evolved. And it was something that you said before our interview series about belonging. Can you speak to some more about that? Let's continue that conversation so our listeners can have a listen about belonging. I think it was so powerful.
Well, I have this belief, and it's just my own personal belief. And I heard it in a training not too long ago, and I thought, that's my belief, though, that I belong everywhere.
Right.
Because of the job that I do for my career, and just because of my own personality, I feel I belong in all spaces. I belong everywhere. So wherever I am, I'm going to deliver what I have to deliver.
Right.
So if I'm in a space where the people look like me, then I'm going to deliver what I need to deliver.
Right.
If I'm in a space where people don't look like me, I'm going to deliver what I need to deliver. I like being in all spaces because I can learn from all those spaces and then take it back to the space that I'm in, whether they look like me or whether they don't. So when I encounter people that need that information, that's kind of my laser focus. I'm not a doormat though. So I let people know, how I want to be treated.
Of course.
And what you're going to continue to say to me and what you're not going to continue to say to me while we're in this working relationship. Because the bottom line is, I'm a human service professional, meaning I'm providing you a service. And so emphasis on you, the service.
Right.
Because I don't need this service at this time. Like if I'm helping you acquire Medicaid, for example, I got health insurance.
Right.
I'm not trying to get health insurance for me. I'm trying to get health insurance from you. So
Right.
If I'm asking you this question that belongs on this application and you are acting pissy with me about it, we're going to address that first.
Right.
Because this is one way you're going to continue talking to me if we're going to get this application done. And if by chance you feel that I'm not the one to help you because you're looking at the fact that I'm a woman or you're looking at the fact that I'm Black, then that is on you to go to my superiors and talk to them about getting someone else. And why? Because I'm not going nowhere. The people pay me to come here to help you. And so you're it. Now, if you don't want me, then it's up to you to take that initiative and go get someone else. And be prepared, though, because if they tell you, ooh, she all we got in the hospital, she's the only one that we have, then you're going to have to, you may have to buck up and come back to me, and that'll be okay. Because,
Right.
You may have just cussed me out, told me you wanted my supervisor, you want a different worker, this and that, and the other. And as you're walking down there, I'm thinking, they're going to tell this person that Elaine is all we have. And they're going to send you right back to me, and I'll be like, hey, even in this trying time.
Right.
Because people are on edge.
Right.
For good reason.
Yes.
People are dying every single day, every
Right.
minute of the day.
Yeah.
People are leaving the hospital not in a better condition. We're talking young people leaving the hospital with oxygen. Who does that?
Wow.
We're talking people who are watching their family members die, and they're still saying, "You ain't got no COVID."
Oh my goodness.
And they're getting younger and younger and younger. And people who, as I'm talking to them, they are cussing me out because I got a mask on. if you take that mask off, I can't hear you. I'm like, okay, well, let me speak a little louder. Well, come closer. No, don't do that. But I'll speak louder.
Right.
Or you know what I will do? Let me go all the way down the hall. I'll take the mask off and then I'm going to yell it. But then I can't really do that because then that's getting your health information out to.
Right. Right.
So then that's when somebody will probably then admit to me they can hear me just fine through that mask.
Uh-huh.
Because they realize I'm not going to take it off for
Right.
my safety and for theirs.
Wow.
So it can get trying even with coworkers. I mean, there are people who, have differing opinions on, the disease, on the treatment for the disease and everything. And the virus and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And, everybody has to just do what they think is best. And what I think is best is, shelter in place as much as possible. In my hospital, I handle business through the technology that have been created. Isn't it something? This technology was created even before the pandemic.
Yes,
we were using our iPhones for FaceTime and on Zoom calls and all this other stuff before. The pandemic even hit. And so now it's just heightened. And I remind people of that sometimes, when they say, I don't want to talk to nobody on no phone. Like, but your grandchild live in Oregon.
You talk to her.
And y'all talk to y'all grandchildren on the video every week.
Yeah, that is
so
true.
Why is this different? And why are you yelling at me that you're talking to me on the phone or through the Zoom?
Wow.
When you've been doing this with your grandchild since Alexa came out. I mean, so child, and sometimes, and when I say it just like that to me, child, please. And, and then they'll laugh and be like, yeah, you got a point. I'm like, I know.
What I love about you, you have such a humorous personality that you don't let the job dictate how you respond. You dictate how you respond. And going through all the challenges and stuff and seeing those young people rolling out the hospital with the oxygen tanks, I know it's getting costly, not just for the hospital, but for the patients.
Yeah.
But they can't go back to normal of working or even earning revenue to take care of that. So as a social worker, how are you helping those individuals when you're adjusting and planning for their after? Because I know a lot of them are having to be discharged because y'all running out of beds.
Yeah, well, it's especially challenging when people don't have health insurance.
Right.
And fortunately, in my hospital, we have a team of Medicaid analysts.
Okay.
That I can refer people to while they're in the hospital. If they come in self-pay, that I can refer people to that analyst. They can initiate the Medicaid application with them over the phone.
Okay.
And if they meet the income guidelines, they can start them on Medicaid right then.
Wow.
And the fortunate thing about our healthcare system with Medicaid is that somebody comes in the hospital today, they may have come through the emergency department. I'm not back at work until a couple of days from now. They have all racked up all these bills before I get there.
Wow.
They get qualified for Medicaid, but Medicaid pays retroactively 90 days.
Wow.
So it'll cover those bills.
Wow.
And so now, depending on what state a person lives in, there may be more coverage than others. Some may cover it 100%. Some may say, okay, I'm only covering your, couple of days or whatever it is. But at least there is some coverage there if you're income eligible. When you're not income eligible, that's when we got to get creative.
Oh, wow.
I've known people having to liquidate some assets that they've had to pay for their care. And that can be very frustrating. Man, I'm saving that for my retirement. And I just have to talk to people in terms of, but if you don't get to your retirement, then we it's moot anyway. So look at it in terms of you have something set aside.
Right.
That some people don't.
Exactly.
And you can liquidate this and then take care of your care. Sometimes when I know that that's not an option for people, I just try to get them to focus on, you never know what's going to happen by the time that bill comes. You might have gotten a different job and now you can pay the bill. You might have a relative that says, hey, you know what? I'm going to dig into my 401k and I'm going to give you this to help you out. You just don't know. You might even qualify for a payment plan with the hospital. And you got this big, $100,000 bill.
Right.
And the hospital says, okay, based on what you make, even if you don't make nothing, this is what we're going to have you pay every month. So this is no different than you going out to Macy's and maxing out your doggone credit card. And then you coming back and Macy's say, give me $20 a month. Now, how are you paying $20 a month on a Macy's credit card that you done racked up $5,000 worth of Macy's and you get to pay $20 a month? So now you finna cry that you got this big hospital bill, but then the hospital wants you to pay. And then I had a lady say, I didn't even think about that because my American Express, I got $10,000 limit. I said, there you go. Wow. And what do? Every month, you make sure that you pay that. So I may have to connect people with financial planners.
Right.
This one man I connected with a financial planner. I also connected him with a rep payee because it was too stressful for him being on oxygen, dealing with this virus, dealing with all this and paying his bills.
Right.
So it was worth it for him to pay the small fee to a rep payee company that I connected him with. They took all of his control of all of his bills and they make sure everything get paid every month.
Wow.
So just looking at what kind of resources are out there like that. Sometimes there's neighbors you can tap into that will say, hey, when that person, they don't really like the Meals on Wheels meals, or they only come once a day, but you know what? My house is sanitary and COVID free, and they've been my neighbors for years, and they know they can trust us. And so I'm going to make an extra pan of lasagna and I'll just sit it on it. Or I'm going to, instead of giving them, I know I can't give them that, but I can take an extra $10 and I'll put it toward their bill, or I'll get their groceries for them. So just tapping into their own systems, because people are more connected sometimes than they think.
Wow,
and I can sit down with them and just try to figure out who, and that's what a social worker does. We're going to look at the person in their environment. So we're going to look at all their systems and try to find anybody, whether they're local or whether they're not, on how they can help this person.
Wow, that's good to know. Yep, social worker 365. So with this pandemic, have you all experienced a lot of out-of-state patients that come to your hospital? How are you all adjusting with that? Because I know you said y'all only do kind of just enough to patch them up. But if someone come into your hospital and they have COVID, they need a ventilator, and y'all got a light, how do y'all handle all of that when you all don't have that kind of structure?
We have some. We can care for some.
Okay.
And some have been on ventilators, right, in our hospital for weeks.
Oh, wow.
When they're out of state, again, the health insurance can make it real tricky because we don't have universal health care in this country. So if you live in the state of Georgia and you come and visit somebody in Nevada and you have Georgia Medicaid, that's like you coming into my hospital self-pay, because Georgia Medicaid is no good in Nevada.
Oh, wow.
So each state has their own like healthcare system, so to speak.
Right.
So that can mean a bill for that person if they're just visiting. And now if they've moved to the state, then, there's a way to get with the Medicaid worker and get that Medicaid in Georgia canceled out and get them on Nevada Medicaid. Most oftentimes the eligibility criteria is the same or similar, so that that we can overcome that barrier. But then we've had people, Nevada is a very transient state, so we've had people passing through. Like, okay. I'm leaving Idaho and I'm going to my mother's in California, and they get sick in Nevada.
Oh, wow.
So we patch them up and try to discharge them to their family in California. There are times where we have to work interstate and send people to other states. And we rely heavily on organizations. There's an organization called Angel Flight.
Okay.
And these are a group of pilots who have their own airplanes, and they will transport people for free.
What? Oh, wow.
Yeah. And as long as the person can get into one of these little commercial planes, I've done it. I've sent a person out of state to go to a skilled nursing facility because that's where their family works.
Right.
And so we have to just look at all of these different resources on how to help people.
Wow.
And so it is a case-by-case basis, it's on a day-to-day basis. Now, you're mentioning COVID, but that's in addition to all the other people that just come into the hospital because their blood pressure is out of whack or because their blood sugar is not level.
Right.
So
that's amazing. That is amazing. So before we end this segment about your pandemic experience, what advice or instructions that you have seen since the working in the hospital that you want to give our listeners so they can implement some of these best practices? We already know you preaching advanced directives. I know that's going to be number one. Yes. But what else do they need to know or should know to better plan and be pro-medical health conscious before we end this segment?
I would say that that self-care, just be informed self-care. If you already know that you have a particular ailment or you're prone to a particular ailment, take that seriously and do anything. And I mean, we're in the age of Google, so you can Google a lot of things, and you can also get that Google information and partner with your primary care physician to make sure that you're doing any and everything to be proactive in your own self-care, because those things are going to be really important. Then being proactive in your medical care, making sure that if something happens to you where you're not able to tell your medical professional how to treat you, that you have already written that down in advance. And that you, and don't thumb your nose up at conventional medicine. There are a lot of good things happening in conventional medicine that were not happening years and years and years ago. And so look at everything. Look at holistic treatments. Look at medical treatments. Look at everything. And I would also say to a person to just not be cynical about it. And that helps you're emotionally anyway. Don't be a conspiracy theory about everything. Don't think that everybody's just out to get you or somebody's trying to make money off of people or
Thank you for listening to Courageous Conversation with Therese W Gamble, bridging generational gaps through active listening and action-oriented changes.